Our next project is the connector core. Now, as I look at the model, the most important features I notice are the holes. The holes go all the way through from top to bottom, obviously for some connection. So this is the essence, the most important aspect of this particular part. So I'm going to include that as part of my first feature. Another very important consideration is the symmetry involved. It has two axes of symmetry, left and right, and top and bottom. So we'll make an extruded boss base first, selecting the top plane as my sketch plane. And before I lay any solid lines down, I'm going to make center lines because the symmetry involved is very important. There's one center line for the left-right symmetry and another center line for top to bottom symmetry. Notice that these coincident relations go right through the origin, and that's going to help us out a lot in the future. So the next thing I want to do is make a rectangle right here. Of course, I don't care about the dimensions yet, just a rectangle will do. And I'm going to make the circles right off the bat too. I can do two things at once. In the sketch, don't have to make the holes later. And notice how I do not have dimensions on these yet. Doesn't matter until I start putting in the dimensions. Now I want to make sure everything is symmetric. So I'm going to take this center, hold the control key down, this center, and that center line, and click on symmetric. Now, no matter where these centers go, they will always be the same distance away from that center line. I'll do the same thing for the sides, holding the control key down, hold those sides. And those sides will always be the same distance from the center line. Do it again for the vertical sides. And here we have them symmetric. Now these circles are supposed to be of equal height or size. Now these circles are supposed to be of equal diameter. So hold the control key down and make them equal. So it even looks like what we're looking for without putting any dimensions in yet. Usually like to do that last. Oh no, not again. These are in millimeters. So I need to go back up and change my units. So I click up here where I've got system options, go to document properties, units, inch, pound, second, and I usually like to have my lengths to 3 decimal points, and that's what our assignment shows as well. So we'll make all that to 3 decimal points. Okay, now we're in inches, and I'll change this to 1.25, and I will make this dimension here 0.6. I will make this dimension here 0.2, and I'm going to move the centers from the sides here and then dimension them. And there is a space of 0.5 inches between them. And now everything is black and fully defined as shown. Now that part of the connector core is 0.4 inches deep. So this is easily a blind extrusion. 0.4. And here we have it. One could have done the lower part first, so we'll put it on, go over here and do another extrusion from the bottom. And now we're sketching. I'm going to change the sketch face there. And all we need is another rectangle. And I'm going to make another center line. There we go. And that is going right through the origin again. And now I will make them symmetric. Holding the control key down and selecting the two edges in the center line. Again, make them symmetric. Dimension them to 0.35. And the top here to exactly 1. Okay, what about the holes? Well, that's the easy part. I'll just click on Convert Entities, and then click on the edge of the hole here, and the edge of the hole here. And no matter what size we make the holes later, these circles will always keep that same size as the very first feature. So those two edges become black lines within my sketch, and that's all I needed. Now we're going to exit the sketch and extrude out a certain ways. The extrusion is 0.7 inches, doing the math of 1.1 minus 0.4. And there we have the bulk of our connector core right there. Next, we need to make the details. I will first cut one side of here. Sometimes it's hard to see in this particular sketch, so I'll simply make an extruded cut from this plane. I'll be looking straight down at it, and I'll do it the slightly fancy way, coming from the top here, over here, down, straight over to that edge, hit escape so that I can get back over to making a curve, a center point arc. So I'm only cutting out the material that I need to cut out. Check on that. Now I see that my sketch is still blue and I'm not quite sure why. So I'm going to take it and move it. Oh, I see. This point is on the circle, but it doesn't say that it's at the top part of the arc. So all we need to do, click on that point, the center, and this point, make them all vertically aligned with one another. and it's still blue. This point, oh, it's not aligned with the center of the actual curve here, of the main circle. So I'll take that point, hold my control key down, hold that circle, and we'll call them concentric. Now everything turns black and is fully defined. Notice there are no dimensions needed. So I'm going to cut down, not that far. I'm going to cut down only what's shown in the assignment, 0.3, and I'll be done. Now we can easily take this and mirror it over on the other side. Now there are two places where you might see mirror. One is in Sketch, and you see mirror entities there. Right now we're not in sketch mode though. I want to mirror a feature. I want to mirror the cut, not part of the sketch. So I'm going to go to Features, and the mirror is right here. I'm going to mirror, and you've got several fields to mirror. In this case, it's asking what are we going to mirror about? And clicking up here to find my favorite planes. This is why choosing where you start is so important, because I've got this plane right here, the right plane, all ready and able to go. And if I click on this cut feature, I can click on it here, or I can click on it right here. It pops up, and you don't need to mirror any faces. There it is. Now I'm going to show a different way of making that cut. So I'm going to suppress that mirror, and I'm going to make the cut using this face. So I'm going to click on Extruded Cut, select that face, and I'm going to make that face face us, and simply going to make a rectangle. And a center line from the origin down through. Oops. That did not come out vertical, so I'll just click on the center line, make sure it's vertical. That's better. Now, if I want to make sure that this is centered, I can right-click here, go to Select Midpoint, hold my Control key down, and select the center line, and make this midpoint go on the center line coincident. I want to select coincident. If I had selected midpoint, then this would have, the midpoint of the line segment would be stuck on the midpoint of the center line, which is not what I wanted. I just want it to be on the line wherever it ends up. So that helps. Achieves a lot of the same aspects as the symmetry relation. Now, I want these to be the exact same size as the hole, but I can't see the hole, so I'm going to change my view to this. So we want this line and this edge to be collinear. We want them to be at the same line. And look, they turn black. Then we simply make the dimension from here down to here, and that is 0.3. I could have related it to the other side, but this is as if you had just made it by itself. Okay, now we have to figure out what we're going to do with this and how far we're going to make it go. We could make it go blind and just do it straight up to that distance, but again, what if things change? We can go up to a particular surface. So I can go up to that surface, which is the hole, which is where we want it to go. Make sure we have the correct side that we want to go in the correct direction. And there, the cut is made. Identical to the other side. Okay, last but not least, the two wings on the side. We will do an extruded boss, and again, this is why one chooses very carefully where you start so that we can use that right plane again. Simply going to make a sketch looking like a triangle. Like that. And we're going to dimension it as shown in the drawing. From the bottom here, this point is 0.2. And from the point to the top is 0.3. And the angle of the wedge is 15 degrees. So as some people would make a block and then cut it, there's no need to do that. Now this shows, again, blind, but again, we are working on the symmetry. This is a perfect example in which we can take a mid-plane approach. And we just need to know the size, which according to the drawing is 1/2 inch. And we are done with this side. Now, there are two approaches to this. We can go back and simply mirror it again. Mirroring across now the front plane, because we chose it nicely and we noticed that there was a lot of symmetry. That's the plane that we're going to go about, is the front plane. And the feature we're going to mirror is just that wing out the side. There it is. And it's complete, with the exception of the rounds and fillets. Now I'm going to suppress that last wing and show you a different way of doing it. I'm going to right click on that first wing, edit the sketch. We're going to look at that sketch head on, make a center line, starting with the origin and going straight down. Hit escape to get rid of that. And then we're going to mirror the entities. So first we should select them. Hold on to the control key, select the three sides of the triangle, go to mirror entities, and we're going to click mirror about that line, and we are done. And we are going to exit the sketch. So that's how you modify a sketch, and how it can just go right in and change the extrusion that you made. And anytime I change this, the other one will be changed as well. But don't forget, when you change it like that, you need to hit the regenerate button, the rebuild button, and they both will be changed. You can hit Control Z, undo that, and then, of course, as always, save your work. To recap, we started with the large block, moved on using the extrude and the sketching of using the convert entities. Then we cut one side and mirrored it, or we used the cut extrude from the other direction and extruded up to a surface. Then we used a mid-plane extrusion across one of the planes of symmetry, and then we mirrored that, or we can simply have included that in the sketch. Including that in the sketch would have worked as well for the one cut that we used going straight down. We could have sketched it on the other side as well and done it in one feature.